Folks, are the banks having trust issues? I'll get into that and then the latest home prices and insights for the Peel and Durham region for week ending August 21, 2024. We sold a property earlier in the year and there was a long closing. And just before closing, there was an appraisal booked from the buyer's side. Their mortgage broker booked an appraisal, and which is normal. Oftentimes before closing, there'll be an appraiser, there'll be an appraisal that gets booked. But in this situation, there was two appraisals that were booked. One was generated by the mortgage broker of the buyer, and the other appraisal was generated from the lender. It was the same lender that the mortgage broker was booking the appraisal on behalf of. So the same bank basically has two appraisals going on, one generated by the mortgage broker and one from the bank itself. And my first thought was, must be a mistake. Why are there two appraisals? We never see this before. And so we just kind of brushed that off as it being a mistake. That property closed. That was a few weeks ago. That property closed. But I should say it was a long closing. And we'll often see appraisals closer to closing when it's a long closing. You sell the property today, even if an appraisal is done right away. If it's a long closing, sometimes we'll see another appraisal, especially in this market where values are changing. The banks are just being extra cautious that the value is still there. This is logical. We've seen this before, but two appraisals, we kind of just brush it off as to, okay, two appraisals. There you go. Must be, an error somewhere. Why would somebody book two appraisal? So we have another property about to close this week. Also sold a while back. It's a long closing. An appraisal was booked. We confirmed the appraisal. This appraisal was booked through the mortgage broker on behalf of the lender. And then there's another appraisal booking that comes in. And I calling the agent saying, you guys have already booked an appraisal, and they know nothing about it. And their mortgage broker knows nothing about it. Turns out this appraisal was booked by the lender, by the bank. It's the same bank. It would make sense if, say, the buyer is working with one bank and working with another bank to see which rate comes in the best. But it wasn't the case because, working with two banks, you can kind of understand there's going to be two appraisals. But that wasn't the case. It was the same lender telling the mortgage broker, hey, we need an appraisal on this property. The mortgage broker books an appraisal, and the bank itself says, and we're going to send our own appraiser there. What for? To double check what the first appraiser is doing? Are the banks not trusting what the one appraisal comes in at anymore? The reason I'm bringing this up is the first time I thought, it's just a fluke, a mistake. It's happened again in Peel region only. I haven't seen it happen anywhere else. And I've asked a few other questions, and now I'm wondering, are the banks having trust issues? Is this something we're going to see more and more? Is it only because it's a long closing? Is that the only reason? All these questions come to mind. And I know there's lots of different people from different walks of life that watch this channel. So if you have a financing background, or if you work for the bank and you can shed some light on this, please comment below. Let us know what's happening. If you feel this video can help somebody please pass it along. If you get value from what we're talking about, subscribe. And if you want to speak with me about your real estate situation, selling, buying, there's a link up here to my calendar. There's a link in the description below this video. The link is to my calendar. Click on that, book a time that's convenient for you, and we'll talk about whatever's on your mind. Now, let's get into the numbers. Here we go, folks. Peel region. We're only focused on detached properties for Mississauga, Brampton, Durham. Here's a quick summary of just average sold prices for 3 months. The difference between Durham and Brampton and Mississauga average sold price is about $316,000. Big difference in price point. We're going to start off with Mississauga. For week ending August 21, 33 detached properties were sold. 5 of those were at $2 million or more. When we're looking at sales, there's a lot of neighborhoods across, or a lot of areas across the GTA. Sales have been trending down, especially, I mean, it's typical this time of the year, especially when we're in August. Well, 33 is similar to where we were a week ago. We were at 32. But a few weeks before that, we were in the mid-20s. A few weeks before that, we were in the high 30s. So yeah, sales are down, but it seems to kind of come in clumps of 2 or 3 weeks at a time. It's not steadily coming down. Average sold price, it is up from the previous week. It's now at $1,443,000. But overall, average sold price has been trending down in Mississauga for detached properties. Remember what I spoke about before the numbers, as far as banks doing appraisals or extra appraisals? Well, think about this for a second. If you purchased a home sometime in May, let's say you purchased for 1.6, average sold price is in the high 1.5, just borderline almost at 1.6. So let's say you bought something at 1.6 and closing was in 3 months. Well, that takes you to the end of August. Average sold prices have come down approximately $200,000, $250,000 since then. You bought at 1.6. Has your home's value, you've not closed yet, but bought at 1.6, what's it worth now, 3 months later? This is what the banks are wondering. They're wondering, well, we're lending you money at 1.6. Is it still worth 1.6? That's why I think they're being extra cautious with the extra appraisals. Anyways, average sold price, $1,443,000, which is 2% lower than where we were this time a year ago. The median price is 3% higher. The dotted line, that's a 4-week moving average. Both average price and median price trending down. Median price trending down at a lesser rate than the average sold price. 33 were sold. 12% sold at list price or more. That's not a lot. If we go back 3 months, well, we were in the mid-30s, 40% or so. We're now at 12% selling at list price or more. Active listings, 686 available detached properties available for sale across Mississauga. If I go back one, we said 33 sold, but there's 686 available for sale. Months of inventory, a little bit higher, sitting at 4.8 months of inventory. Months of inventory has been increasing. If you're selling in Mississauga or looking to buy in Mississauga, you are going to experience either a buyer's market or a balanced market. Depends on the neighborhood, depends on the price point, the property type, all that factors into it. Here's Brampton. 48 detached properties were sold. One of those was at $2 million or more. Now 48, sales have been quite steady actually. They've not been trending down. 48 is pretty normal since what we've seen since the beginning of June. Average sold price, it is up from last week to $1,127,000, but it has been consistently trending downward. Compared to last year, 1,127, 7% lower year over year. The median price is 4% lower, both average and median price trending downwards. 48 were sold, 25% sold at list price or more. 156 detached properties were listed. 968 are available for sale. Going back, 48 sold, but 968 to choose from. Detached properties. Months of inventory sitting at 4.7. That's been trending upwards. Also in Mississauga, like Mississauga in Brampton, you're going to experience either a buyer's market or a balanced market. Here's Durham region. Now for Durham, I'm using Pickering, Ajax, and Whitby as my Durham sample. 51 detached properties were sold. None sold at $2 million or more. Average sold price up from last week to $1,134,000, but still trending down overall. Compared to last year, 1134 is 3% higher. The median price is 2% lower. Both are trending down, median price and average sold price. 51 were sold, a third, 33% sold at list price or more. There are 483 available for sale detached properties in Pickering, Ajax, and Whitby. Months of inventory sitting at 2.2 months of inventory. You will experience either a balanced market or a seller's market. I know you're wondering, did he actually say sellers? Yes, it's still pretty much a seller's market in Pickering, Ajax, and Whitby for detached properties. 2.2 months of inventory, that's it. We used to be under 2. We used to be under 1. We're now at 2.2. So months of inventory has been increasing, but it's nowhere near where it is in Mississauga or in Brampton. Here's a summary of average sold price. Pretty much a balanced market, although there'll be some pockets of a buyer's market, and in some areas in the Durham region, you will experience a seller's market. Thanks for watching. Have an awesome day.